Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on Job in the Mouth, we're very excited to have this wonderful man on the show. We are now talking to former 34-year MLB umpire Phil Cuzzi is on the show. Phil, what is up, my friend?
What's up, guys? It sounds like you're having too much fun out there.
Well, we always have fun. I mean, if you watch the show, we are a little outlandish. We can go a little bit off the train. I mean, we tilt, we spill. And Speedy doesn't use much of any kind of napkins. So when it spills, he leaves a couple of stains, if you know what I mean, Phil. But, I mean, the stains are definitely going to stick. And hopefully we're not racking anything. And if we're racking, maybe we'll play some pool. If you're a good pool player, I can win some money. But anyways, Phil, we got to get into your career. And you've been in the majors for 34 years. You announced, I want you to tell the fans, before I announce that you have just announced your retirement, which is you have had a sensational career, 34 years in the major leagues. To have a career like that, I've been on this earth for 43 years. So just think about it. When you started your umpire career, I was 9 years old. To think about 34 years in the major leagues at a top level, it's an impressive career. So tell us a little bit about your career and 34 years at a dominant level with some of the great baseball players of our time.
Well, 34 years total. It was 27 in the big leagues. I started the minor leagues in 85 in the New York Penn League, but it was the best way I could describe it is to say that I was living my dream. That's what it was. I mean, like every other kid in the country, you thought about playing Major League Baseball, right? You wanted to play baseball since Little League and below that. And, who didn't want to, in this area especially, who didn't want to play for the Yankees or the Mets, right? And, it wasn't until I went to college to play and then blew out my shoulder. I was a catcher, which I believed helped me as an umpire. And my first job out of college was a school teacher. And I did that for about 4 years. And I said, I love this job, but I'm in a good school system in Union, New Jersey. And I said, I don't want to, I was young. I was right out of college. I said, I don't want to, I don't want to always have to have a summer job. I wanted to be married, have a family. So a friend of mine said, you have a pretty good personality. Why don't you go into sales? So I went into sales. I did that for about a year, and the idea was to make more money. I did, but it wasn't anything that really excited me. And what's the pinnacle of being in sales, closing an order, right? And so I was doing that, but it just wasn't lighting me up. And it wasn't until I was at Yankee Stadium with my buddies one night, and for whatever the reason, I just started focusing on the umpires rotating around the field. And I said, now that would be a good job. And my buddy next to me said, there's an umpire school. I see the advertised in the back of the Sporting News. And so I rode away, and there were 2 private schools at that time, a little different today. But and that's where my journey began. But it was a long journey to get to the big leagues, and a lot of bumps and potholes in the road.
A lot of New York potholes. We deal with that every single day. A lot of every day. I'm hitting a pothole, and sometimes I wonder when our tax is going to be used in the right way. But and it sounds like you're from New York, and it sounds like you're more from the Brooklyn area. Am I right?
Well, my mother grew up in Brooklyn. I'm from Jersey.
I got you. So I grew up here in Long Island, but I went to school in Brooklyn. I was a bad boy, as what they would call me. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager. And that's why I played hockey, and I played hockey to try to take people's heads. I would clothesline people and try to knock people's heads off their body. So I was always an abusive kind of guy on and off the ice. So I like to fight. It was something about it. Living in such a soft neighborhood in Long Island, because Long Island's soft. When you go to Brooklyn or you go to the city, you realize that you're not as tough as you think you are. And there are a lot of tougher guys, and it's not even a tougher guy in a city or a tougher guy in a town. It's a tough guy every single block. So every single block you step on, there's somebody tougher. So it was interesting, but I got a chance to understand what it was to not understand what it was to live in such a small place in an island and go somewhere so much bigger and so much more, I guess, charismatic in Brooklyn. So I want to get into MLB and some of the rule changes. I mean, you've been in the game for a long time. You've seen the transition. Obviously, Bud Selig, you were there during the steroid era where a lot of people question why Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa are not in the Hall of Fame. I don't care if they did steroids. So I know you got a chance to umpire for these guys. You saw these guys play at such a top level. When you look, I know you're no longer a major league umpire, so you have a right to give your own opinion. And I don't know if anybody's asked you this question since the announcement that you're retiring. So my question to you is, you look at the game, the 90s, the strike, baseball needed a savior. Baseball needed saviors. And Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were the guys. Those are the guys that really took baseball, put baseball on their shoulders, and helped baseball and really drive baseball. I mean, literally drive baseballs outside of stadiums. When you look at the steroid era, do you believe that Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Gary Sheffield, some of the greatest baseball players of this era should be in the Hall of Fame? Yes or no?
Well, that's the $100,000 question, right? But you make the point about Sosa and McGwire. Think about that whole season, how exciting it was, and how people were glued to the TV, and the attendance, I'm sure, was up because of that. And just very, very exciting. Should they be in the Hall of Fame? I mean, I don't know, as a gatekeeper of the rules were broken. So should that, and we could talk about Pete Rose. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? More hits than anybody in the history of the game. That's a tough question.
I didn't want it to stick to your board over there. Okay, I'm a very open guy, and when you watch this show, I'm a pretty straightforward person, and I love that you're on, and I respect. We've had umpires on the show, and I've asked them questions, and I've gone deeper into conversations about this, and that's what bothers me, because Pete Rose should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. Let's be honest. And now he's going to go into the Hall of Fame now that he's dead. What does it matter if he's in the Hall of Fame? He didn't get to experience. This is one of the greatest hitters in baseball, and this guy bet on baseball. So did Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani did the same thing, okay? But Shohei Ohtani's still in the major leagues. Shohei Ohtani's an international superstar. Shohei Ohtani has $70 million of deferred money and making all these great sponsors and advertisement deals that he's getting on and off the baseball field. Why is it allowed that now baseball is trying to protect their players because they're trying to hide situations? Because let's be honest, and I am being nothing but I'm an honest guy. If you're going to do it to one, you do it to all. Everybody should be prosecuted for what they did. And I know what baseball is going to say. Baseball loves to do this. They say, hey, you know what? I got news for you. We did our investigation. As a matter of fact, the FBI did an investigation in 2 weeks after this has been going on for years. And there were players on his team, his friends, that were a part of this whole scandal. But you know what? Shohei didn't know anything about it. Hey, $20-something million. He didn't know that was in and out of his accounts. He's got 6 accountants. How does he know anything about this? Come on. You know, Mr. Phil, you know this is a bunch of rubbish. You know that baseball's protecting their international superstar, their breadwinner. Am I right or wrong on this?
Well, could you imagine having so much money that you don't, that you can't keep track of? What was it, $27 million?
Come on. You can have all the money in the world. How could you not tell $27 million is outside of your pocket? You could be the richest man in the world. You're going to tell me right now Elon Musk doesn't know that there's $27 million outside of his pocket? Come on, Phil. We're not stupid here. I have bright eyes. I mean, I have brown eyes, not bright eyes, but they're brown enough. So I'm not trying to brownie anybody. I just I like to throw them, and hopefully it doesn't stick on the wall like shit. But there is stuff that happens in baseball, happens in sports that people try to reevaluate because, he's our superstar. Let's just push it to the side. Let's not talk about this anymore. Which, by the way, nobody has spoken about this. After everything was pushed to the side, not one thing has been mentioned in the public eye since then. Why? Oh, I'm sorry. It's Shohei Ohtani, the Japanese phenom. Everybody loves him. He's such a nice guy. Oh, he's just been in 2 scandals in the amount of 2 years. But who cares? It's Shohei Ohtani. Come on, Phil. Give it to me. Well, I love you, man. You look good, man, by the way. You look really, really good. You should have never retired.
Not bad for an old man, right?
No, you look good, man. I think you look great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's, I think my secret was orange juice in the morning, red wine in the evening. And I think that might have helped. That might have been a big help.
Well, and also taking a shower every day. I hope so.
Well, yeah, once in a while.
Well, there's people sometimes I wonder, the things that it's funny. I meet a lot of athletes and I talk to a ton of athletes and when I meet them in person, they tell me, some of them smell good. Others smell interesting. And I'm like, well, what do you wear? And they're all happy. They're like, I wear musk or I wear this and I wear that. And I'm like, some of the guys, I ask them what they wear. It's like, why? Do I smell? And I'm like, oh, no, you smell pretty good. And I walk away and I go, damn, where, did you take a shower yesterday? Did you take a shower today? I mean, some of these athletes, they're interesting fellows. But, when I throw you curveballs on this show, I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want you to feel out of place. I'm an honest guy, and I look at things in a very different way than a lot of these broadcasters. I think they beat around the bush, they hide behind certain things, and I think they're unwatchable and unlistened to. And I can't listen to people that can't be honest. And to me, with baseball, and I'm not the biggest Rob Manfred fan. I'm not. As a matter of fact, I can't stand the man. Everybody on the show would tell you, I think he's hurt the game of baseball with these new rules. Everything about this strike and why it's happening, I blame him for it. I think there's a lot of things that he could have cleaned up over the last 2 years where we can figure out why this has been going on with the Dodgers. And that's where I want to get at. And I know Speedy has some questions for you too. But is there a reason why Rob Manfred has allowed the Dodgers to control baseball over the last couple of years? Because that's what they've been doing. They've been controlling the game of baseball by this deferred money crap, and everybody tells me, all these athletes come on the show, well, guess what, Errol? This has been going on forever, and nobody's doing it but the Dodgers. So have amphetamines, and everybody was doing them in the 50s and the 60s. Isn't that cheating? So let's get back to it. Why is Rob Manfred sitting there and sitting pretty and saying, well, they're doing everything right. Everything is part of the rules of baseball. Well, these rules have not been attacked the way the Dodgers have attacked it. And then now the Dodgers are sitting here. They had Tucker in the offseason. It seems like they're on another run to win another World Series, and it makes you sick to your stomach. And everybody brings up, well, the Yankees did it. No, the Yankees never did this. This is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous statement. So you've been around baseball for a long time, and you've been around different commissioners. Why is Rob Manfred so clueless when it comes to the game of baseball?
I don't have the answer to that question.
I love you, man. I love it.
I know that, you're bringing up aspects of the game that never even crossed my mind. I'm recently retired. Before I retired, it was just a ball strike, safe out, handling situations and keeping the game in check. And, that's what we did. Never, ever looked at the game since I've been an umpire, minor league included, never looked at the game through fans' eyes. And, what I do know is regardless of what team, any team, whatever roster they put together, they still have to go out and they have to play a lot of games. Right. So things always happen. Guys always get hurt. And, if you want to say, on paper, the Dodgers look like they should have a dynasty. Let's they're going to have to play the game and let's see where it lands.
So I want to ask about the sticky substance situation that was going on the last few years in baseball. Obviously, there have been other cases of it in the past, but even before the last 5 years with guys like Michael Pineda and some notable ones like that. But Max Scherzer was the big one starting in 2022 when they started to like tighten up on that whole situation. What are your thoughts as an umpire, like how baseball has handled that type of situation with these pitchers?
Well, it fell on us, right? As most new rules, you mentioned a lot of rule changes, certainly since I started. And what does it do? It makes our job harder. It falls on us. And then became our responsibility to check the pitchers randomly. It didn't matter if we were given the freedom to check the pitchers if they were coming on the field, walking off the field, and that's what we did. And there were a handful of guys that were caught, and it was just they may have been doing it forever, and I'm sure that they were before we started checking, and then, but I have to say it seemed like it was the more seasoned and veteran guys that seemed to have a little more stickiness on their hands. The younger guys, whenever I checked the younger guy's hand coming out of the bullpen, it was like touching a baby's hand. It was like clean as a whistle. So, I guess it's just the way they were raised. And the guys, the older guys that did get caught, I get that was the culture when they started. And it was just, it was, I guess, innocently enough when they started saying, I just looking to get a better grip. But, they track everything. So all of a sudden, when you see a guy and his spin rate, goes up significantly, then you have to wonder, is it just about the grip or is it something more? And I think it turned out to be something a little bit more. And they got pinched.
So another big thing this year has been the challenge system, this ABS system. They're experimenting with in spring training. I think the Brewers got caught with something like they tried to put a green card on their dugout, and Pat Murphy, he admitted he did something wrong, but he tried to bend the rules a little bit. Like, do you like that kind of thing for a player, whether it's a pitcher or a catcher, to have that kind of control the challenge rather than just coming from the dugout? Or do you think it's going to be too much of a hassle for MLB?
Yeah, no. I mean, if we experimented with it. Obviously, they're doing it this year during the season. We experimented with it during spring training last year, and the way it always, was handed down that it had to be done instantly, immediately by only one of three people: pitcher, catcher, or a hitter, and could not. And actually, the directive was that if you heard, if it was delayed, you didn't accept it. If something came out of the dugout in terms of challenge or don't challenge, we would not accept the challenge. So it had to be done, instantly. No surprise. I didn't hear about that with the green card and all that. But am I surprised that they would try to cheat or try to circumvent the rule? No, I'm not, because they always will try to circumvent a rule. So I'm not surprised about that whatsoever. Is it going to change the game? I think what it's going to eventually do is bring in the full ABS and do away with the challenge system, because I don't even know. Are they using the challenge system during the WBC?
I haven't seen it with that yet.
No, I don't think they have used it. I haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen anybody challenging. So
yeah, I really haven't been watching, but I don't think that if you've been watching and if you haven't seen it, that probably means that they're not using it, because somebody would have challenged. But I think that when the season comes on, I think that the teams will be much more selective about challenging, because they don't want to be out of challenges if they really need it in the 8th or the 9th inning. You have the tying run or go-ahead run on second base in the bottom of the 9th. You don't want to be without challenges then. So I think that it's going to be a little more controlled, and I'm sure that there's going to be particular hitters that they're going to say, you are not allowed to challenge.
We are talking to former 34-year MLB umpire Phil Cuzzi. He's joining the show for the first time. Happy to have him on. Good-looking man. I don't know why he retired. He should still. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know. I mean, we've seen guys come back. Michael Jordan came back. So, hey, there's a lot of people that have come back. Hey, Tiger Woods came back when everybody thought he was done. So, speaking of great players, now, we remember the Barry Bonds breaking the record. We remember Mark McGwire and Sosa doing what they did. But Aaron Judge is always going to be looked at as the guy that broke Roger Maris's record. And a lot of people questioned the baseball world, especially the major leagues and Rob Manfred, on these quote-unquote Goldilocks balls that we heard about. And I didn't understand it. A lot of people said, hey, baseball made these balls especially for Aaron Judge because they want him to break the record. They were absolutely out there trying and making sure that this man was the face of Roger Maris's broken home run record, which he did it so sensationally. Now, I don't know if you know this. Aaron Judge's rookie card, his 1-in-1 rookie card just sold, signed by him, over $5 million. Did you hear about that?
I did not,
okay.
But I'm not surprised.
Yes. You've watched this guy, and I don't know if you were part of these Goldilocks balls. Have you ever put your hands on these Goldilocks balls? Have you ever seen these Goldilocks balls that everybody was talking about, that they were softer or tighter or just had more pop off the bat? What are they talking about?
There's always these theories, right? Whether they're true or not, I don't know. I can only say this. I handle a lot of balls during the course of a game, and I never said, oh, this one feels different in any way, looser, tighter, higher stitches. I've never, I know that they go through a lot of baseballs. How many dozens of balls that they're rubbing up before each game. But, think about it. How if you were to, they have stats on everything. If you were to take a look at a baseball and think about, put an over-under on it, how many pitches or hitters is the same ball in the game? I whatever the number is, I would take the under because, and some guy, unless I saw that it was really scuffed or muddy or something like that, I kept it in the game. But I've seen some of my colleagues, a ball comes in, they change it every single time. I don't know why they did, but they do. But back to your original question, I never felt anything different with the ball. So conspiracy theory, true or not, I don't know. I know that, so why are they hitting more home runs? Is it because the players are stronger? They're in better shape? I don't know. And if they did have juiced up balls, then everyone should be hitting more home runs. And I guess in some ways, everyone, second basemen are hitting a lot of home runs now, I guess, so who knows?
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. You said, well, everybody should be hitting home runs. So we've had guys on the show that have said steroids, going back to steroids, they said, well, if this guy, Alex Rodriguez, is hitting 50 home runs and he's winning MVPs, why are the other guys in the minor leagues not hitting home runs, being MVPs of the minor leagues or coming up to the majors? Well, it's not the steroids that's doing it, it's the players. And to go back to balls and handling balls, which I handle 2 every single day, I'm just throwing a curveball there. Having fun, as we always do on the show. The problem here, I think, with professional baseball is you got to do one. If you're going to do on to one, you should be doing on to others. And that is the problem, I think, and I feel what is going on in baseball. I think baseball is going to grow even substantially, like we've seen basketball has grown internationally and has become the second biggest sport in America when it comes to sales and advertising players and sponsorships. I mean, I think basketball players are easy to sponsor than any sport right now. They really are. And football, they're bringing in all these big sponsors because of how many stadiums did they fill out and sell, and how it's becoming internationally savvy. And Roger Goodell has found a way to find a market internationally. The problem right now, I think, that is going on in baseball is their superstars, and I'm talking about Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani and Vladimir Guerrero and Juan Soto, all these guys, they stand for something internationally, nationally, but now players and fans are looking at them and saying, okay, Well, how many guys get up to the major leagues? I mean, you have more of a chance to play professional football or even professional basketball or even professional hockey now than you do in professional baseball. You got to go through the minor leagues. You got to go single A, double A, triple A, and to the majors. And you know all about this. You as a umpire, Mr. Cuzzi, you had to go up and you had to drive yourself to the big leagues. You didn't just jump right into the big leagues. You had to earn the right to get to the big leagues. Do you think that's the reason why a lot of these, parents now more than ever kind of tell their kids baseball is not the sport to go and play, that maybe you're better off going to play football or basketball because you have a better chance to make money and succeed as a professional athlete?
Well, I mean, the salaries have become astronomical in baseball as well.
No question.
Now, it may be just the top percentage of guys that are making that, but I mean, even the average guy is still making a great salary. But the interesting thing to me is when you think about even parents who are raising kids that are playing baseball, everyone has to go to a camp. Everyone has to take hitting lessons. It was just friends of ours. They were again, I'm from Jersey, right? They're in Florida playing in a tournament, some kind of it's always like these traveling tournaments. It's a moneymaker for somebody, and it's costing the parents a lot of money to think that, their kid is going to be the next Aaron Judge or the next Derek Jeter, and it's, it's good for me. When I was growing up, it was not to sound like an old man, but here I go. An away game for me was, instead of the playground at the top of my street, it was like 3 blocks away. That was an away game. Now these parents are going, across the country for tournaments, and they feel as though if they don't do it, they're not a lot. Their kid is not going to compete with the talent. So, it's crazy. But I don't know if parents are steering their kids.
100% are, and I'll tell you why, Mr. Cuzzi. And I'm around a lot of young kids. We work with a lot of young kids. We're actually building a program right now called the Long Island Mouth. We're going to be working with high school kids and helping them get NIL deals and all that other stuff. And I think the big problem right now, and a lot of great things that are happening, I've been preaching this for a very, very long time, that kids should be making money off their own names, not the colleges. I've been a supporter for this for a long time. The problem now is that there are kids now they're 13 years old, 14 years old, and they got a huge following. They post up all over social media, and these NIL companies are saying, listen, this guy's going to be a star. Let's give him $7,000 and let him sit on $7,000 a month. We could promote through them. They could post things, and these kids are going to see money that they've never seen before. And now the parents see it, and they're like, we can make a living off this guy. Let's push this kid. Let's do what we got to do. And the problem with me right now with parents, and I hope the parents are listening to this, because I'm going to be honest, and I always am on this show because I'm a crazy SOB, is the parents are not showing the love for the athlete. They're not showing the love and the conditioning and the push. They're just pretty much telling the kid, listen, you're going to play sports because you're good at it, and we're going to educate you, and we're going to bring you to the forefront, and you're going to support your family. And look how much pressure these kids are going to have when they hit that age mark, when they're 16 and 17, and they know that their parents are relying on them to become a professional athlete. And that is a big problem right now here in America, because as a fan of sports and a person that was a pretty good athlete, I was a really good athlete. And I know a lot of people make jokes, and I'm like, yeah, you hurt yourself and you wonder, well, where could my career have gone? But I never had NIL deals. I mean, I'm a younger than you, but I'm not. I mean, I'm 43 years old, so I all the things that I could imagine and dream for, I'm never will ever see that. But now these kids that are like 17, 18 years old, they're getting NIL deals. Some of them are getting millions and millions of dollars before they step on a college football field or a college basketball field, a basketball court. And here's the problem. You mentioned something that I'm going to go back and flip it on you. Did you know that the 13th and 14th player on an NBA team is making more than a bench player right now in the major leagues?
No, I did not know that. But I'm not surprised. Look at the salaries of like a backup quarterback. A backup quarterback in the NFL is a millionaire, and I mean, God bless them. The league, the teams have to be making the money if they're paying these guys that kind of money.
And I, again, for all the fans out there, all the kids, all the fans down on Spotify, and I want to give a shout out to all the fans that tune in and listen to us and download our show and being where we are and all the work that we put into it. We really appreciate it. We're a top 100 show in the country. And it's something that, you put a lot of work and dedication into the product that we do. I say this. Everybody thinks they can do this. Everybody thinks they can go on a mic. Everybody thinks they can play professional baseball. Everybody thinks, I can do that. I can jam the ball. I can be Kobe Bryant. I watched the Oscars last night. Michael B. Jordan won Oscar of the year. He won Best Male, Best Man. And everybody was so excited. He's from Newark. He's from New Jersey, and Today they went to the school that he graduated from, his high school that he graduated from, all arts and everything like that. And they interviewed all these kids, and they're like, if he could do it, I could do it. And all this other stuff. And I'm listening, and it's great. It's great for the kids to believe that. But this is the real world here. There's only one Michael B. Jordan. There's only one Michael Jordan. There's one Larry Bird. There's one Aaron Judge. There's one Juan Soto. There's one Mickey Mantle. There's one Babe Ruth. There's one Hank Aaron. So my point here is, the problem right now in the world is when you see somebody successful and the guy is going to go out there and preach, you can be me, you can do this. That's great. That's really, really great for sports. It's really, really great for anything that you do in the entertainment world. The only problem I have with it is, what happens when that's not true? What happens if that doesn't happen? And your parents are pushing you because they're making you believe that. They're telling you, hey, you can be that. You got to work hard. You got to go out there and play. Shoot 500 three-pointers every single day like Kobe did. Or you want to be Steph Curry? Well, Steph Curry shot 300 three-pointers every single morning and every single night. You do that, you're going to be the next Steph Curry. It's not true. It's not true. Right or wrong?
Well, yeah, and I talk to kids a lot. I have the opportunity to talk to kids, school kids, and all that. And I don't say to them, you could be me, or you can be Hank, you could be Aaron Judge. I don't say that. What I do tell them is, I tell them to set their bar high and just keep jumping, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Because if I would have listened to the supposed experts who said that I would never make it, I wouldn't have just retired with a 27-year career from the major leagues, pinnacle of what I attempted to do. So I don't tell them that they're going to be the next. Like I say, you talk to a kid on a baseball field and he wants to be the next Aaron Judge. I don't tell him that he can be the next Aaron Judge, but I tell him to, if that's what his dream is, go for it,
of course, and
just keep jumping. The expression that I use sometimes is, if you're not really sure, pretend you're in the backyard and you got a walled-in yard, and throw your hat over the wall, and then just go figure out how you're going to go and get it. And as long as you're going to do something like that, you may not end up on a major league field, but you may do something that's going to follow. I tell them to follow their dreams. I tell them to follow their dream, because their dream is going to bring them to their passion.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because I had 5 really close friends as a kid, and we all had dreams. Our dreams were really unique, and you're going to love this one. One of my friends, my friend Jimmy, my friend Sal, my friend Paul, my friend Evan, and me. We were all a clan. And we all had a dream. I wanted to be a professional hockey player. Jimmy wanted to own his own business and be a millionaire. And Sal wanted to be his own boss and buy a big, beautiful house. And Evan wanted to be a computer engineer. And Jimmy wanted to be a porno star. That's what he wanted to be. He wanted to be a porno star. I was like, why do you want to be a porno star? Come on, those guys are rocks, and they get whatever they want. They can go wherever they want, do whatever they want, and love whatever they want. And I'm like, All right. So what are the chances of you becoming a porno star? He says, well, there's a lot more of a chance by, look at the magazines, look at the pornos and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, there's how many guys in those porno videos? I mean, there's like 8 guys jumping from one video to another. And I say, the chances of you becoming a porno star, he says, you watch, I'm going to be a porno star. So the funny story here is, and why I'm bringing this up is, I just bumped into my friend Jimmy recently, and we had a conversation, and I actually brought this story up to him, and it's really, really funny. And I said, well, what are you doing now? I haven't spoken to you in a long time. Well, he says, it's a good question, but, a couple of years ago, I was in Texas, and I was doing I was trying to get into that market we were talking about. And I said, well, how did it go? And he says, well, I wasn't big enough. That's what he told me. And I was like, I laughed at it. And I said, well, how did they know? And he said, well, when you go into these meetings and you meet the directors and the producers, they tell you, the first thing they tell you to do is drop them. And he said, and the first thing they say is like, you're not fit to do this. So the funny thing is, and I bring this story is, he went for his dream, but he struck out. It was like, it was right there. You're over, man. You got to walk. And that to me, and I make a joke about it because you should go for your dream. You should believe that you can get to that highest point in your career and go and stride. And I want to be the next Phil Cuzzi. I want to be the next, I'm not going to tell you Mr. Dennehy, but I don't want to do that. But, the fact here is I want to be at the top level of what I do. I want to be the best broadcaster in the world. I want to be the best. I want to be considered the number one broadcaster in the country to compete against the best. Well, how do you do that? You got to work your ass off, no doubt, but you got to get some luck too. There's things that have to fall together for you to get to that point. That's what I tell the kids. I don't believe in luck. I believe being in the right place at the right time, speaking to the right people, and understanding your business and understanding how you can drive who you are to the people that have the power to take you to the next level. And I think with you, Phil, I'm getting to know you, and you're probably saying this is one of the craziest interviews I've ever been on. And probably saying, wow, this guy is unique but crazy and probably nuts, but I'm not.
Yeah, but the point is that you said that you wanted to play in the NHL.
Yes.
Okay, so for whatever the reason, you didn't get to the NFL, but yet you still had the perseverance to do something at a high level.
Yes.
And here you are. I mean, you want to be a broadcaster. Well, you are a broadcaster. Where this podcast takes you, nobody knows yet. You might have an idea where you want it to go, but I still think it's that drive that did, you had the drive to say, I want to play in the NHL, but you didn't go home with your tail between your legs and you became a played video games in your parents' basement.
No, I don't do that.
So I think the idea to tell the kids is to, you got to have perseverance, whatever it is that you want to do. Right. And and dream, but it doesn't mean just because you have a dream that you're going to reach that dream. But, but again, it's a matter of, if you follow your dream, it's going to lead you to something else. And you say you don't believe in luck. My father used to say, the harder you work, the more lucky you will become.
Interesting. That's a good take. I like it. Last question.
Just remember where you got it.
Well, I remember where my socks come from. I remember where my underwear comes from, and I don't remember where my brain came from. But, hey, when people ask me who my father is, and may he rest in peace, I love you, Dad. But my father told me one thing. You're one of the most charismatic and personable people you can ever talk to. And my father always told me that you have a gift and be able to interact with people and conversate with people and drive people to you. And that was something that I learned over the years for people hating me, because I was one of the loudest, most derogatory people on the ice. And the only reason why I didn't make it is because of injury. But I again, you could go back and argue anything that I did in my lifetime. I don't regret any of it. I just want to better myself and my guys that are here on the show working their asses off, as well as you, Mr. Cuzzi. I think what's so interesting about people that we interview and people that we get to know and people that have succeeded into their careers and at a high level, and to see what they've done over the years and just conversate with them and just build a relationship with them is pretty amazing. And my question for you, my final question for you is, you've been in the game for such a long time. What is the most important part of your career? What was the thing that really, when you're done with obviously you're done with your career, when you walk away 30 years from now and your grandchildren sit with you and say, Grandpa, great grandpa, what was the thing that really stuck out to you as a professional umpire? What was the game that stuck out to you? What was the thing that made you remember your time in the MLB? What would that be?
Well, if you talk about the highlights, my first game in the big leagues as a call-up umpire, working in a World Series game was certainly one of the greatest highlights. But, the thing to remember that I remember about this job is, just having to do it every single night. We get time off during the season, but we still work, somewhere around 120 something games. And it doesn't mean that you have, every Tuesday off, and so, sometimes it's just a question of, you have a night game in pick a city, and then you have a 6 o'clock flight the next morning to get into the following city, by noon, you hope, and, just be ready to work that night. And people don't realize that the travel, the grind that it is. And that's the difference. You could have great college umpires, great high school umpires, but there's a difference if you have to do it every single night at that level. And that's what makes the difference.
Well, Phil, you are fantastic. And I just want to let you know, everything that we talk about on this show, I want you to realize that when we get people on the show, we want them to know that this isn't the same interview that they're going to have. The questions that we ask are different, and we want to open the guest up and realize that we want you to feel like you're at home and hanging out with the boys and not feeling like, oh, we're going to tear this guy's head off or we're going to ask him the same boring, dumb questions he gets asked on every single podcast. So that's one of the reasons why when Nithin told me we're going to get you on the show, and Nithin, shout out to Nith for getting you on the show, the work that he puts in and all the back end stuff that he does for getting us the guests that we get, and just all the different personalities that we've had on the show over the years. The most interesting thing I can say about umpires and writers and people on the back end that don't really get enough. There he is, Lithomania, as we call it. Thank you, Fish. But all the different guests that we've had on the show, the guests that really stick out to me from all the rest are the guys behind the scenes, the guys that don't get enough credit for the work that they do and in the years that they put in. And that goes for umpires, referees, coaches, assistants, executives, GMs that just don't get enough credit for the work they put in. It always goes to the players. It always goes to the athlete. So congratulations on such a great long career. And we would love to get you on the show again and keep up the good work with the kids. And maybe we'll get you out here in Long Island to talk to some of the kids, some of the young baseball players and some of the young athletes that would maybe want to be an umpire in the future or, a referee in the future in their respectable sports.
So my question is to you, do all the bad boys from Long Island get shipped to Brooklyn?
That's a good question. I think I'm one of very few because a lot of these Long Island boys, they pretend to be tough. They walk around, oh, I live in Bayshore, Central Islip, Shirley, Mastic Beach, and you live in the foot or the armpit of Long Island. Yeah, we know. Or Wyandanch, as a lot of the rappers come from. No, I don't. I think my parents were very strict with me. I wasn't what you call a person that would listen to my parents when they told me to come in. They told me they'd rather me stay out because I was, I wouldn't say I was a bad boy, but I was a guy that I didn't like to be told what to do. And when I realized as I got older, when I was in my young teens, when I was 13, 14, and my parents said, "Okay, we're sending you off. You can't handle the middle schools out here. You can't handle, staying out of trouble." And it wasn't drugs, by the way, because I was an athlete. I would never touch any of that stuff. It was just my hands. I just like to throw hands, and I could care less what anybody said to me. When my parents sent me over there, I realized that I could be the toughest kid in a town, toughest kid in a school, but when you go out to a place that there are a bunch of tough guys, you are a little pea in a big pond, and you're nothing. And no, I don't believe a lot of bad boys go to Brooklyn and ship them out to Brooklyn, but I've heard stories, and I've heard success stories, and I've heard bad stories. But I have been one of those guys that I'm not going to pat myself on the back because I really don't want to do that, but I've changed a lot in my lifetime. Anybody that's known me or actually knows me as a kid will tell you that I've done a whole 360 from what I could have been. And that's because of sports. I think sports and competitive nature and me trying to be just a different person, I thought that being a different person can change my way of thinking. That has changed me as a man. That's changed me as a personality. That's changed me as a broadcaster. So, yeah, I think that's a good question. Phil, nobody's asked me that question. And
well, let me ask you another one. You talk about your passion of throwing hands. I would think boxing might have come into your
I
bit.
boxed. I boxed
Yeah.
for 7 years. I was an undefeated amateur fighter. I won 21 fights. I drawed one. I also was a mixed martial artist. I tried that for about a few years. One is in a bunch of Ring of Combat fights, but I'll tell you the last time I ever stepped foot in an octagon. It was when I was fighting in a Ring of Combat fight, and I was against the fence, and I was trying to wrap my body and trying to structure my body, spread my legs out so he couldn't take me up and flip me over. And he took me over and dropped me on my neck. And I woke up in 3 seconds with him on top of me, pounding me. I got out of it. I winded up winning the fight, but not without having a contusion over my left eye, which shut my left eye. And it took me 3 months to get my eye. I thought I popped my eye socket when it happened. It was the worst feeling in the world. I had a concussion, definitely did. But after that, I said, you know what, I was done with this. My mom always said I was too pretty for that, but it's it happens. But
Moms say that.
yeah, I think they do. I think my mom's just trying to blow my head up. You know what I mean? But we appreciate you, man, and great career. We loved it. There it is, the bad boy called to Brooklyn.
Let's go to Brooklyn. Okay,
First of all, I never smoke a cigar. Just for all the fans to see this picture right now, I do not smoke cigars. So that is a lie. But hey, listen, things happen.
Did you find Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn?
Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Yes. I'll tell you this. Brooklyn has some of the best restaurants in the world. And some of the best bakeries in the world, if you've ever been to Brooklyn. So if you've never been there, any of the fans around the country that's listening to the show right now, you got to come out to New York. Stop with the Manhattan crap or all the other stuff. I want to go to Manhattan to see the World Trade Center where it was and the Empire State Building. You want to come out to places like Long Island, check the wineries if you're a wine drinker, the beaches here in Long Island, or even Brooklyn, the food, and even here in Long Island, some of the great different seafood places and steakhouses that we have here. There's a lot to see here in New York. Some of the things, it's so funny. I talk to a lot of professional baseball players. We've built a lot of good relationships over the years. One of them is Nick Goody. Nick Goody's been on our show, and great guy. And Nick tells me, I've been to Long Island. I played for the Ducks. And I was like, that's not Long Island. That's Central Islip. That's garbage. Okay. And he's like, well, that's Long Island. I was like, no, that's not Long Island. And that's the armpit of Long Island, please. So he doesn't know what good food is here in Long Island. He doesn't know what good places to go. So that it doesn't work in his favor as far as I'm concerned. But Again, Phil, we love you. Let's get you on the show again. We'd love to get you on the show again, and keep up the good work. Keep talking to those kids and being who you are, man. Great career. Let's give them a golf clap, boys. Let's give them a golf clap.
Okay.
Let's give them a golf clap.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it, and keep doing what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Phil Cuzzi, ladies and gentlemen, a fantastic personality, knows his baseball, had a great long career, and now he's going to enjoy the relief life, the life of hanging out with the kids and the grandchildren and just watching baseball on television.
She said she's from the islands and